Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Triple N Talk Show. I am Dr. Nik Nikam, and this is coming to you live from YouTube. And also, you can watch this on Google Hangout. Google Plus. And you can also download our app, which is NNN Media for Android or Apple devices. And you can listen to us on your mobile devices. And also, while you're doing that, if you're watching on YouTube, you can also watch more than 600 video clips we have accenting the Indian experience here in Houston. Also, we would invite you to visit our Facebook page, which is Nik Nikam Network, so we can keep you updated as to what's happening in and around the Houston area. Today, we're going to be talking about two interesting topics. One is about domestic violence, and during second half of the hour, we're going to talk about a beauty pageant that was recently held here in Houston, Texas. First, we're going to talk about Daya Foundation, and my special guest is Bincy Jacob, who is the executive director of Daya, right?
Correct.
Okay, welcome to Nik Nikam Network Talk Show. We're delighted to have you. Excuse me. Okay, Bincy, let's start off by explaining to people what is Daya. What does Daya stand for?
So Daya means compassion in Sanskrit.
Oh, I see. Okay, when was this Daya established?
Daya was established in 1996.
Yeah.
There was actually a murder-suicide in the South Asian community in Houston.
I see.
And as a result of that, a group of women got together and realized that we need not just mainstream domestic violence services, but something that's specific for our community and culture.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, before we go any further, let's give out a little bit about your background and how you got involved with Daya.
Absolutely. I've been doing domestic violence work since 2002. I started off as a client advocate in NYPD police precinct.
Oh, is that right?
I moved from there to Child Protective Services doing domestic violence work, and then to wonderful organizations doing training work in Westchester County called My Sister's Place. And after a few years, I went over to Seattle, Washington as the executive director of API Chaya, which is a very similar organization to Daya. And a few years ago, my family and I moved to Houston, Texas. And about 2 months ago, Daya was looking for its very first executive director. And we met each other, and here I am.
Oh, that's fascinating. Okay. And you talked about, how this was formed and all this. How does Daya promote its awareness and presence in the community?
So Daya tries to be everywhere that the South Asian community is. Whether it's Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Sri Lankan, Nepali, or many countries that comprise of South Asia. We go to the fairs, we go to festivals, we go to faith-based centers. We have many different contacts and places who let us know about things that are happening. And we promote our services and our support that way.
Okay, let's talk about what are the missions of Daya?
Daya's mission is to provide support and resources to survivors of domestic violence and sexual violence in the South Asian community of the greater Houston area. We also want to see healthy families and healthy relationships, and so we do a lot of prevention work aimed toward that.
Yeah, you talked about domestic violence. What different types of violences that Daya usually come across?
Absolutely, that's a great question. So when we say domestic violence, many people think of just physical abuse. They think, my partner hit me or kicked me or punched me or maybe physically threatened to hurt me. But what we actually know when we do this work is that domestic violence is a huge spectrum of behaviors that one partner does toward their intimate partner or any family members in the family. So we see, especially in South Asian families, we see a lot of in-law abuse. So in-laws who might be perpetrating abuse on someone who comes into the home. But we also see things like verbal abuse. So putting someone down, and I'm going to use you as my example. If I tell you, Nick, you're dumb and you're stupid, and then you hear that all the time, maybe you start to believe that.
And even, I was looking at some of the information that even you have like what is it, like the space, internet space where, in-laws may be trying to, budge into the families
Absolutely.
living overseas.
Absolutely. And with South Asian communities, so we have the
Yeah.
physical violence and the verbal, the sexual violence that happens among married partners or unmarried partners. We have social violence,
Yeah.
so threatening to spread rumors about somebody, talking badly about them, putting their secrets out in the public, all of those things. But we have an added layer of
Yeah.
people who get taken back to the homeland and abandoned over there,
That's true, yeah.
children that get kidnapped because of custody issues. So we're realizing that, we have a lot of good domestic violence
Yeah.
organizations in the area, but to really serve our community, we need someone who understands what our needs are.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about a typical scenario when somebody has got a domestic problem and they want to reach out. Give us an example. How does this transpire?
So many times, sometimes we have the client, the person
Yeah.
who's suffering themselves calling. So I want to also just preface by saying Daya serves everyone. We serve both men and women, although most of our clients
Yeah.
that come in are women. We support people with children, without children. We
I
support
see.
single people, married people. So our services are open to all.
Yeah.
But many times, let's suppose it's a woman that's the
Yes.
victim. They call our hotline number.
Yeah.
The first thing that we do is to make sure that they are immediately in a safe place. If they are calling in from the back room and something's going
Yeah,
on,
I know.
we encourage them to hang up and call 911. But if they are in a relatively safe place,
Yeah.
they're at a friend or family member's house, or they're in their home and the person who's hurting them is not there, then we talked with them first about safety.
Yes.
Are you safe tonight? Do you have a safe place to stay tonight? And once we establish that person is immediately safe, we'll talk about why do they call?
Yeah.
Are they calling because they need to leave and they need a place to stay?
I
Or are
see.
they calling because they just want to talk to somebody about what they're going through?
Yeah.
We at Daya, we never force anyone to leave a relationship or to leave their home.
I see. Yeah.
We meet the person where they are, and we just try to make sure we provide as much services and support as possible
Yeah.
until they're ready to make the decision about what the next step is for their life.
So who are the people who really assist these what to say, victims of domestic
Sure.
violence?
We have right now professional counselors, licensed counselors
see,
who
yeah.
are paid staff.
Yeah.
So for a long time, Daya was volunteer-run organization, but for over 10 years, probably closer to 15 years, we've had paid staff
I see.
available to answer the phone and help support in that. So between 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., we have advocates and counselors who answer the phone at the office line. And then
Yeah.
evenings and weekends, folks check the messages occasionally.
I see, yeah.
But basically between Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, you can call the number and get support.
That's interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Triple N Talk Show. I am Dr. Nik Nikam, and this is coming to you live on YouTube and Google+. And you can also subscribe to our NNN Media app, which you can download for Android or Apple devices, and follow us on the web-based any type of media. Also visit our Facebook page, Nik Nikam Network, so we can keep you abreast of what's happening in and around the town. While you're visiting YouTube, you can also watch more than 600 videos we have accenting our Indian experience here in Houston. We are talking about the Daya Foundation, which helps victims of domestic violence, and my special guest is Bincy Jacob. Okay, we were talking about, so once they call and you identify, you talk to them, what kind of help you provide to these people?
Sure.
Or helps?
One of the main thing is counseling.
Yeah.
It's supportive counseling, and that could be short-term or long-term. We provide individual counseling, and we also do support groups and sometimes parenting groups that are incorporated into that work. We know that a lot of times survivors who are parents struggle with parenting their children because the abuser is sabotaging any effort that they're doing. And so that's counseling is a main part of it. We also have an excellent network of lawyers who work with us.
So you provide legal services?
We have a great network, and so we refer to either our pro bono attorneys or to low-cost attorneys. And we're so grateful. We have wonderful attorneys who work with us, and we invite any other attorneys who might think that this is something that they'd be interested in helping out and working with us. We invite them to join us. We also do provide support in helping figure out what the next step is. So if someone needs to go to shelter, we can see if there's a mainstream shelter that's available. We have some other possible housing options. And we also are trying to do an innovative new program with housing assistance.
I see.
So
Yeah.
trying to help people to remain in the communities that they are or where they feel the most safe. So we do a lot of different work and also offer
Yeah.
maybe some basic financial assistance for people who qualify,
I see.
who are our ongoing clients.
Yeah. Before we go any further, let's give out your contact information
Sure.
so that if anybody is interested in knowing more about Daya, maybe they can get in
Absolutely.
touch with
Our
you or
help,
your staff members.
sure. Our helpline number is 713
Yeah.
981 7645.
Okay. Once they have come to you and you identified what the real issues are, you talked about. Do you have a physical facility where they can spend some time, or you usually work with shelters?
Good question. So there we have an office that
Yeah.
we have all of our employees are based out of the office.
Yeah.
But we also used to have a transitional home
Yeah.
where we had people come and stay for long term.
Yeah.
What we found that the transitional home was not as effective as it could be because people don't want to move from,
I
for
know.
example, Fort Bend County into
I
another
know. Different.
place,
Yeah.
where they don't know the schools, they don't know the location, they have to
Yeah.
learn everything. And so what we realized is we're going to change that transitional
Yeah.
home model to help with rental assistance for qualified clients that we've been
Oh, I
working
see.
for.
Yeah.
They've been screened, they've been working with us for a long time, and who are in really critical danger.
Yeah.
We can help them with that. But we also have very strong partnership with organizations like
Yeah.
Anissa,
I
Shifa,
see. Yeah.
Houston Area Women's Center, Fort Bend
I see.
County
Yeah.
Women's Center, the Bridge. So many programs that
Yeah.
provide placement for our clients.
Yeah. We talked about physical assistance, and when does the legal system or the police get involved with these kind of situations? Obviously, if somebody has left the house, there are a lot of other issues that need to be addressed.
It's absolutely individual based on who's calling and what their
I
situation
see.
is.
Yeah.
So somebody might call the police before they call
I
us,
see.
and
Yeah.
the police might be giving them Daya's phone number.
Yeah.
Right? They say this is an organization called Daya. Other people, they might call us, and then after talking with us, they feel courageous enough to call the police.
Yeah.
And other people never call the
I see,
police.
yeah.
They may go through family court. They may not get
I see.
involved in the legal system at all.
Yeah.
Our job at Daya and our mission at Daya is not to push people to do something that they're
Yeah.
not ready to do, but really to provide options and explain and provide a positive and negative
Yeah.
feedback. If you choose this option, this might work out well, or this
Yeah.
might be some of the negatives. So we just go through all those options with them. We also know in the South Asian community, just like many other communities, it's very challenging to get law enforcement involved.
I know.
We try to keep our secrets in our families,
That's
and
true,
nobody
yeah.
should know. And so we talk about, what does that mean? If we need
Yeah.
the police, we should certainly feel courageous enough to call the police. And one other thing I want to insert, some of the survivors we serve, just like the people in our own community,
Yeah.
are undocumented or
I
are
see,
in
yeah.
between status.
Yeah.
So their legal immigration
Status is
status
not-
is based on their partner.
Yeah.
And so the minute that there's a problem in the family, the partner is threatening, I'm not going to file for your green card, or I'm not
Yeah.
going to put you on the next application. That has a huge impact on whether someone calls the police or not.
Yeah.
And so we really try to help explore their options. And fortunately, many of our police departments have been on board with not asking victims what their immigration status
I
is,
see. Yeah.
and making sure that they have the options that are available. And we do have options. Victims who don't have status,
Yeah.
they should certainly talk to an attorney, because they might qualify for
That's
something under the Violence Against Women Act to get immigration status based on their
I see, yeah.
victimization.
So they can get their own.
They might
immigration
be able
status,
to. Of course, a
something.
lawyer would have to look at that. They might
know,
be
yeah.
able to, but it's possible.
Yeah, that's much further down the line.
Absolutely.
Before.
But
And
that's a fear that prevents people from calling.
that is true. Yeah. And what are the types of? You talked about the legal service and housing,
Mhm.
clothing, food, and all things like that.
Sure.
What other kinds of services does Daya assist with?
Great question. So that's our direct service with the counseling and immediate assistance. The other big part of what we do is prevention work.
Yeah.
So we have educators and a community organizing department that goes out into the community to do prevention work. We talk about healthy relationships, healthy families, healthy children, healthy communities. We do very positive community building sessions. I would like to mention that this Saturday, September 19th, 2015, we're having a Women and Money seminar taking place at the Sugar Creek Country Club.
I see, yeah.
And so that's it's from 8, I think you have to register ahead on our website, but that is an event where we know that being financially capable and independent is one of the ways that women and men can have freedom in their life. And so we want to just make sure that we're giving some advice and support. So we sponsor many events throughout the community, and we are available. If anybody wants to bring us into their faith-based group, into their temple, their mosque, their masjid, their gurdwara, church, wherever it is, we're willing to come there to cultural associations, even to just small groups of friends who just want to know a little bit more. We're happy to come and talk about domestic violence or about the very positive things that we do.
Do you get involved with all this like hostile family members on the other side of the equation?
That's a good question. You know, we only work with victims. We do not do batters intervention programs. There are programs that other organizations like ABDA and other places do those programs. I will say I encourage my staff to always be vigilant about their own safety. If they feel like they're at risk, they are fully commissioned to get to a safe place or call 911 or make sure that they're safe. And we talk about safety a lot for staff because we never want to put any of our staff or clients at risk at anyone's hands.
So do you work with like family counseling psychologists or psychiatrists? People like who can provide some kind of understanding between the couples? Or?
Sure. Well, our counselor who works at Daya is a licensed counselor, but we also have partnerships with some community members, especially for language capacity. And so we might refer a client for some more long-term counseling in the community.
Oh, since you brought up the topic of language, how many different languages, because I was just looking at the video clip on Facebook, they said, there's no national language in India, they say it's Hindi, but literally, there are like 26 different languages.
Absolutely.
So how do you address all these different scenarios?
That's a great question. Our staff, all of our staff speak at least 2 languages or more. And so we have a good amount of language capacity just within our staff. When we add our trained volunteers into the mix, we cover a good number of South Asian languages. Now, of course, there's still going to be a lot of languages missing, especially smaller languages, but we have access to Language Line, so we can use a professional interpretation service, and we're figuring out the solutions for that. And if anyone speaks a rare language and they would like to get involved as a volunteer, we'd be happy to have them come aboard.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Triple N Talk Show. I am Dr. Nik Nikam, and this is coming to you live on YouTube and also on Google+. And you can also download our app, which is NNN Media, where you can follow us on your smartphones, tablets, and also computers. We are talking about the Daya Foundation, which deals with people of domestic violence. And my special guest is Bincy Jacob. Okay, let's give out your contact information again, and then we'll proceed.
Absolutely. Our phone number is 713-981-7645. We actually also have our website, which is going through a revamp. We're going to be doing a brand new website coming out in about 4 weeks. But our website address is dayahouston.org. That's DAYA Houston.org. And we also have a very active Facebook page. So I would encourage, if anyone's out there and wants to know what we're doing on a weekly basis and maybe join us at events, please find us on Facebook and like us and follow us, and so we can keep you informed of what we're doing.
That's very fascinating. Okay, let's talk about. Let me see what next question is. Okay, do you have any facilities for students or anybody, college students or high school students who volunteer so they can get credits for their school?
We certainly do. And so if you call the number that I said, 713-981-7645, you can speak to our outreach person who also runs the volunteer program. We actually had this summer a young woman who was going into 8th grade
I see.
who was coming and volunteering. So we try to provide opportunities. Now, one challenge we have is we try to keep our location confidential. And so it's hard to just bring a big group of people to do like a painting the house or, gardening type of thing. But we also, we have a lot of opportunities. I would like to mention there's a Young Professionals Acting for Change group that they had just launched. We're having our first event in October. And they're a group of young professionals, 20, 30-somethings, that want to make a change in the community where they live. And they're organizing just a gathering so they can meet each other and do something positive for their survivors. And in the end of October, which is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, they're going to be doing a session for survivors to come in and do resume writing, makeovers, professional attire advisement, a legal panel, some healthcare information. So it's going to be a great event. And I really encourage folks to go onto our website and look YPAC, Young Professionals Acting for Change, and you'll get more information.
Okay. In a typical year, how many calls do you all get? And how many people you actually deal with physically in terms of helping out?
Sure. At Daya, we get in 2014, we had over 6,100 phone calls from clients, and we served over 337 clients, or 337 clients in 2014 we served. And that's just in Houston.
If I remember when Daya started more than a decade ago, hardly anybody came forward to seek help or bring out their problems in the street. But that is amazing that you're getting 6,000 phone calls.
Absolutely. And that's a drop in the bucket.
So what is the most common scenario where people call in out of the 6,000? I mean, if you have any
I think many times clients will call directly to say, hey, I need help. But we also get a lot of phone calls from family members or friends. Who see, my sister, my cousin, my friend, they're going through something. I'm not entirely sure how to help them. And so we'll talk to them about what resources they have. And we also get a lot of calls from service providers in the area that say, we have a client from India or Pakistan or Bangladesh or Sri Lanka. How can we be more effective with them? Or I think something's going on. What should I ask? And so the service that we provide is not just to the survivor, but we also support the friends and family, and we support the first responders that are suspecting something.
So this is not particularly restricted to the Indian or South Asian communities. I guess
we serve everyone.
Everybody.
Anyone who calls us, we can serve. Our specialty and our competency is more with the South Asian community and our language capacity.
Okay, so tell us, how is Daya funded and financed, and how do you support all your activities?
Wonderful question. So I would say that without the support of the amazing people of Houston, Texas, and the surrounding areas, Daya would not exist. A bulk of our funding comes from individual donors. And so these are people year in and year out who committed to Daya, who understand that, some people donate because they remember a family member or someone they knew that was experiencing it. Some people donate because they know that people are going through this who don't want to come out. So we have a lot of individual funders who help us make sure that victims have a place to call and they have services available. We also get a good amount of funding from private foundations. And so the Indo-American Charity Foundation actually provided the seed money to start Daya back many years ago. But we also have funders like the Simmons Foundation, George Foundation, the Houston Endowment, who year in and year out have supported us, and they understand the impact Daya has, but also the why it's important to fund community-specific organizations. They could easily just fund large organizations and say, oh, we're done, but they know that Daya and similar organizations have a big impact in the smaller communities.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching this video, as she said, they are helping almost 6,000 people each year. So we would request you to, donate generously to the good cause. So maybe you can give out the information. Can they donate online also?
Absolutely. You can donate at our website at dayahouston.org, DAYAHouston.org. And one thing that's been a great help is many people work at companies that provide matching funds.
I see,
And so Shell, the Shell Oil Company, 15th, 16th, and 17th is actually doing a 2-to-1 match.
Oh, I
so
see.
if Nick, if you worked for Shell and you gave us $1,000, they add $2,000 to that and give us a check for $3,000.
Oh, that's fascinating.
It's amazing.
So if you're watching this and if you work for Shell, ladies and gentlemen, you know, 2/3 of it is being paid by your company. So I think this is a great way to support our community.
Many companies do that.
Who knows?
Well.
We may need some help ourselves one day.
Right. That's right. This is for us and by us.
Yeah. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about Daya Foundation, which helps victims of domestic violence here in the Houston Metroplex area, that is in Texas. And my special guest is Bincy Jacob. And okay, let's talk about you have educational programs also.
Yes. Correct. We do a lot of work with community groups.
Yeah.
Like I said, we go into faith-based groups. We go into small community cultural organizations. We also do work in colleges. And so we have students associations that call us from UH or Rice or from other places.
Yeah.
We're happy to go and talk to anyone that really wants to know about healthy relationships. Our trainings are not depressing, Nick, I promise you. But we talk about the positive and the good thing also.
Yeah.
We want to make sure people are aware of the red flags. You know, if there's a red flag, better to know early and take action than to just, when it's too late, feel like, oh, I wish I had known about this sooner.
That is true, because I think very often people just go through this for a very long time, thinking things are just going to get better on their own.
That's right.
Which in most cases we know it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. I will say, I have a lot of confidence in people who are abusers. I think they can change and they should change. But the one thing that has to happen is they have to want to change.
So maybe you can talk us about a couple of successful stories if you can remember.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have many, many stories. So I joined there recently, but I'll tell you one person. I'm going to try to be careful to make sure we're not giving away any confidential information. She was married in a forced marriage when she was very young.
Yeah.
And finally, when she was able to escape that abusive marriage, she was able to seek out Daya services and has worked with the counselor at our office, worked with the transitional home person, and so was using our shelter services. She's currently working at her own job, lives in her own apartment, and recently she came for some help to update her resume so that she could apply for a better job where she works. And so she's been with us for many years, but we've been able to see her move from being a victim to being a survivor, and now really going to the next level and being independent, and she's wanting to help others who used to, coming through our services.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's fascinating. Okay, I also saw on your website you also have some tips for people who may be victims of domestic abuse and who have not really gone out to seek help.
Sure.
So maybe you can tell us something about that.
Sure. The one thing I would tell anyone who's a victim, whether they're still in the relationship or out of the relationship, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
People think domestic violence is when couples are arguing.
Yeah.
Every couple argues. Every couple has disagreements and fights. But in domestic violence situation, instead of two people having power kind of on a equal level, one person has all the power and one person has no power. And in that situation, it's not your fault. No matter what this person does, no matter how much they try to abide by the abuser's rules or regulations, they're never going to make it to that point where the abuser is going to be happy. The abuser is always going to find an excuse to be abusive. And so we let people know it is not your fault. You deserve to live a life that's free from violence. You deserve to live a life for you, for your children, that is a just life and a hopeful life and something that's full of good things. In terms of tips, we always talk about safety. Make sure that whether you're in or out of the relationship, that if you feel like your life is in danger, please get help. That could be going to your family member's house. It could be going out for, just an interruption to get out of that immediate situation. But please understand that your safety in your life is so important. We have many people that stay because they worry that the children, they're not going to have a parent and that's going to be bad for them. But truly, if something happens to your life, the children also are going to lose a parent.
True,
And so we just please consider your life and your safety.
That's true. how do you compare the incidence of domestic violence in our South Asian community compared to the American community? You have any comparison?
That's a really a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
I'm not going to answer it.
Yeah.
There's studies that show similarities. There's studies that show that we have a higher incidence in our community, lower incidence in our community. But the one thing we know is whether American community or South Asian community, it is so underreported.
I see.
So no matter how much we can extrapolate from the reportings, the truth is that domestic violence and sexual assault is underreported. And so, whoever comes out and is, wants to get help, we're available to help them.
That's fascinating. Okay, and you also have an annual gala, right? A fundraiser. Let's talk about that.
Correct. So I believe this coming year it's going to be, I believe at the end of March or beginning of April. I think it's April 1st at the Junior League. You'll see a lot more information coming out on our Facebook page. On our Facebook page, there's a sign-up box where you can get added to our email list, and you can keep informed about the events that they're doing.
Okay, let's talk about your contact information, also about your website and what other informations are available on your website.
Sure. So our website, again, is dayahouston.org. That's DAYA Houston.org. We have our own personal information about what we offer at Daya in Houston, but we also have a lot of resources for organizations around the country. So Daya is one of about 30 organizations in the country that serve South Asian and Asian Pacific Islander women. So we have a good network with our sister organizations. And if someone has a friend or family member in Dallas or in Atlanta or New York or California, they can go to our website and look up the name of that organization.
That's interesting. Okay, what are the future goals and visions for Daya?
Well, the larger goal is that we would eradicate domestic violence. If you look at smoking, you're a doctor and a cardiologist. You know that over the last 30 years or 40 years, we've changed the public perception about smoking. It's looked at as an aberration or something. People know that that's not something you should be doing. Or wearing your seatbelt. I've heard in the 70s the cars didn't even have seatbelts in them, and then they started slowly mandating and requiring it. Our goal at Daya, our larger goal as a community, is that when someone hears about domestic violence, they should think of it as a deviance and not as something that's just,
acceptable.
It's acceptable. So we want it to be seen as something that is not acceptable. And how can we create a safe community for victims, for survivors, for their children, for our families to thrive? And how can we be a support and not just rely on law enforcement, but within our communities, what can we offer? So Daya works every single day to make that a reality.
Okay. Again, let's give out your information about where people can donate if they want to, or if they want to participate as volunteers, or want to take part in assisting.
So for all of that,
any type of services.
Absolutely. For all of that, our phone number 713-981-7645. Our website www.dayahouston.org, DAYA and our Facebook also is a great place to stay connected of what's going on.
Bincy, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so
Ladies and gentlemen, we've been talking about Daya Foundation, which helps people with domestic violence. And you can visit their website and get more information, and also stay tuned for their upcoming gala in
March, April.
April. Thank you, and we'll be right back.